What England would do and what America would do is they would outfit private vessels to serve as kind of state-sponsored pirates. So, okay, you have a private vessel, there's a British merchant ship, they're coming through, they're our enemy, you go and stop them and confiscate their cargo and, take it for America. And you get to keep a little bit for yourself. And so privateers were state-sponsored pirates that were used in all of America and Britain's war. But now we kind of want to move on to sort of nation building. And in our review session, we talked about the Articles of Confederation and the failure of the Articles of Confederation. Or I don't know if you'd say failure, as much as you might say the inadequacies of the Articles of Confederation that eventually leads to a movement for a stronger national government and a constitutional convention that meets in the spring, May actually, through the summer of 1787. And so we talked in class and in a review session about the Constitutional Convention. And we talked about, eventually that convention deciding to chuck the Articles of Confederation and to replace it with a new system of government. And that new system of government included a bicameral legislature. And that was included in something called the Great Compromise. Now you'll see the Great Compromise of the Constitution in quotation marks or italicized. The Great Compromise is considered such because without this compromise, there may not have been an agreement. The Constitution starts, the Constitutional Convention starts with Madison. What was Madison's plan called? I mean, Madison was the best prepared delegate at the Constitutional Convention. He starts the discussions with proposing a plan. Actually, not him, the leader of the Virginia, but it's his plan. What was it called? The Virginia Plan. And the Virginia Plan it was an elaborate sort of system, a bicameral legislature, representation, for a national government. The Virginia Plan was a plan that the small states believed, would overwhelm them. That their influence would be minimized in the Virginia Plan. So they proposed the New Jersey Plan, which was basically modifying the Articles of Confederation's system. Now, that debate between those who supported the Virginia Plan and those who wanted something closer to the New Jersey Plan threatened to scuttle the convention. And so it was Franklin that suggested that they appoint a committee. And the committee eventually comes up with something called the Connecticut Compromise or the Great Compromise, right? And the Great Compromise or the Connecticut Compromise is the current system of a legislature, a bicameral legislature, meaning two houses, with one exception. There's one exception. There was one amendment that was passed that modified the Connecticut Compromise. Does anybody know what amendment and what that amendment did? So the original Connecticut Compromise is how the United States Congress works today, without much modification. But there was one amendment to it, yes?
I'm not sure what number, but whatever prohibited slavery.
No, not that one. I would say, but I'm going to think about that. I was thinking more of go ahead, Shalane. I was thinking of the 17th Amendment, which provided for the direct election of senators. In the original proposal, senators, 2 from each state, were to be appointed by the state legislatures, correct? And they would appoint 2 senators for each state. But eventually, the 17th Amendment was passed. When was that passed? What time frame? I know you're not going to get the year, but what time frame?
Progressive era.
It was in the Progressive Era. The year was 1913 in the Progressive Era. And one of the reasons it was passed in the Progressive Era, because remember, the Progressives wanted to see the power of government restored back to the people. And so the way to break the power of the bosses and the business interest was to have senators directly elected. rather than appointed by corrupt state legislatures. Okay. Now, in the aftermath of the Constitutional Convention, we talked the last time we reviewed after school, we talked about ratification. We said, okay, the Constitution was established. There were all sorts of things that were related to the Constitution. It was ratified by each individual state in a special convention. 11 of the 13 states eventually ratify the Constitution. It becomes law before Rhode Island and North Carolina ratify it. Eventually, Rhode Island and North Carolina will ratify, and the Constitution is the agreement that is going to govern the nation. Now, we said even under the Constitution there were problems, and one of the problems under the Constitution was that of debt. That during the Revolutionary War and in the aftermath of the Revolutionary War, whatever the United States government was had borrowed money. Moreover, the individual states had borrowed money. And so once the Constitution was ratified, and the first president was elected, which was George Washington, and the first Congress was elected and seated. That could be the pizza guy.
I'll go get it.
And it is. Hello? Where you at? Where?
I'll get it.
What's that?
Do you know how? Oh, yeah. I've been enough today.
Okay, I'll be right up. All right, kids, let's go.